These videos provide an introduction to Excel and Google Sheets. In this first video, I will start at the very beginning, introducing Excel as a program and how it's structured or set up. In later videos, we'll touch on some of Excel's functionality and introduce the Excel template that we use for financials. You may want to follow along in either Excel or Google Sheets, especially if this is your first time using either program. If you're already somewhat familiar with Excel, you may want to skip ahead to the next video. Let's start by navigating to and opening up Excel. The easiest way is to open your Start menu, then scroll until you find Excel. Click on the icon and the program will open up. What if you don't have Excel? There are other programs you can use for free. Google has a number of user-friendly and free programs in Google Drive, including Docs that work much like a Word document and Sheets that work much like Excel. To use Drive, you do need to have a Gmail account. You don't have to use that as your primary email, but you will need an account to log in. To create a new Sheets file in Drive, you have a couple of options. First, you can click New, then Google Sheets. That opens up a blank file that you'll notice looks a lot like a blank Excel file. If you want to take an existing Excel file and use it in Sheets, you can simply drag and drop that into Google Drive, or you can go to New, File Upload, and select the Excel file you want to add. Excel and Google Sheets work similarly, follow a similar structure, and have the same basic functionality. I'm going to switch back to Excel, but this intro would generally apply to Google Sheets too. We call each of the boxes that you see a cell. Excel is structured with columns labeled with letters, A, B, C, D, and rows labeled with numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. This combination of a column letter and a row number gives you a position in a grid. For example, cell C2 is in column C and row 2. Currently, you can only see a few columns and rows of your sheet, but you have more than you could ever really use, more than 16,000 columns and 100,000 rows, so you can make your grid as big as you need it to be. What can you put in a cell? Excel can store pretty much anything you put into it. What's nice about Excel is you can use it to store text, and you can use it as a calculator and have it store numbers for you. That's why we use it for the financials template. It's relatively straightforward and can include both the descriptions and the math to calculate your financials. The whole file is called a workbook, and each sheet within that file is called a worksheet. Worksheets help you to organize the workbook however makes the most organizational sense to you. Think about it like chapters in a book. Each worksheet can contain and store all the information about one particular thing, and you know where to look for it when you need it. So when we get into financials, you may want to put all of your costs on one worksheet, all your sales on another worksheet, all your customer growth assumptions on a third worksheet to keep that information organized. Let's look at the worksheets in this particular workbook. In this file, we have labeled our worksheets to match what we'll talk about or do in the worksheet. Right now, the worksheet we're on is all about navigating Excel. The next worksheet we're going to look at is called Format. There are a couple of ways to move from one worksheet to another. The first is to move your mouse and click on the worksheet. So if I want to go to the worksheet called Format, I move my mouse to where it says Format and click. What if you decide that you need another worksheet? Move your mouse to the top of the page, click Insert, and Insert Sheet. You'll notice that it adds a blank page with a generic name, like Sheet 2. You can leave the new workbook with that name or rename it to something that makes more sense to you. To rename, double-click on where the worksheet says Sheet 2 and type the new worksheet name you want, in this case, Rename. Now, if you want your worksheets in a different order, you can click and drag the worksheet to a new location without affecting any of your actual content. By clicking, holding, and dragging, I simply change where it's located. Cells behave like a Word document. The cell keeps whatever words you type into the cell. When you hit Enter, the text is committed to the cell you typed in. So cell A6, cells behave like in Word. You can change what's written in the cell by writing over it. If you hit Enter again, what you've typed is now the content in that cell. If you want to see what's in a cell, you can navigate to or click on that particular cell. You can see the contents in the cell and you can also see it in the formula bar at the very top of Excel. This will become more relevant as we get into formulas. Let's say you accidentally type over something in a cell that you wanted. If you're still in the cell, hit Escape, and your original text will remain. I typed mistake and then hit Escape. Because I hadn't hit Enter, it wasn't committed to that cell. Escape is the way to back up what you've written and return to what was originally there. What if you've already hit Enter and overwrote what was there? You can hit the Undo button at the top of the page, which looks like a back arrow and will undo your latest action. So to quickly recap, Excel is a program that helps you organize your information. It allows you to store information in different ways, including text and numbers, and can do calculations for you. It's laid out in a grid of columns and rows, and each box formed by a column and a row is called a cell. When you type into a cell and hit Enter, that information remains in that cell. If you make a mistake, you can undo what you've done. In the next video, we'll cover formats.